What's up, my brother?
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
How's your day?
What was that?
How's your day?
It's good. Busy.
Busy is good.
Yep.
So, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you are, and we'll get into the essence of what you do a little further on.
All right. My name is Mike Wagner. I own Cornfield Customs in Cincinnati, Ohio. We're a high-end hot rod shop, metal fabrication, and metal shaping shop. So pretty much I fabricate vintage race cars, vintage European cars, and then one-off complete cars 100% from scratch.
Wow. Okay, so your Bengals or Browns? Who you with?
What was that, sir? I can't hear you real well.
Bengals or Browns? Who you with? Football team?
I don't watch sports.
So never?
No.
All right. I'm a Southern boy. You Midwest. I thought all we did was watch football.
No. All I do is work.
Cars.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to get into some questions and try to get to know you a little better, and then we get into your journey.
All right.
If you had an opportunity to, would you go to the moon?
What was the question again? I might have to get earbuds because I can't hear real well.
Is it my noise?
No, I just can't hear you that great.
Okay. If you had the opportunity to, would you go to the moon?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
All right. You wanted the few.
Yeah.
What word or phrase do you overuse?
I don't know. That's a really hard one because I don't know.
All right. What is your least favorite thing to do?
Be around large groups of people and have to interact with them.
Yeah, I kind of get that as well.
Yeah.
I'm not good at house parties.
No.
I'm not good at bars.
No, definitely not.
What is your most favorite thing to do?
To work. Yeah, that's all I want to do.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, hold on a second. I'm going to grab a pair of earbuds real quick, make it easier
All right.
on us.
It's a big machine.
Maybe not. They weren't where I left them, so I'll just do my best to lift them.
All right, so we're winging. What is the one thing your spouse or significant other would like to change about you?
That I wouldn't work so much.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
What makes you tick?
What makes me tick?
Yes, in a positive way.
Pretty much like just fabricating and stuff. I mean, that's all I live for is, building stuff from nothing and anything automotive related.
What irks you the most?
Lazy people and people that aren't really driven to do much.
What sound makes you happiest?
Does the lack of sound, does that work? Silence?
Yeah. I'm with that. What sound bothers you?
Leaking air hoses. So just the constant sound of air leaking drives me up the wall.
Because the air compressor keeps coming on and coming on and coming on,
Yep.
and there's no need to. What profession other than your own would you like to try?
I don't know. Like, if it had to be like a career, that would be a struggle. I always say that if this fails, I'm just going to be a Walmart door greeter. But I don't know how fulfilling that would be, but it would just be easier.
What would you want on your tombstone?
I don't really want a tombstone. I
That's
want one
a
of those.
popular answer as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want one of those where they bury you and you turn into a tree. So I don't want to be known for anything. I don't want anybody to know where I am. Just bury me and go on my way.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. What is it about your personality that drives your business?
Probably that I'm stubborn and focused, and I'm a really hard worker. Because no matter what, I mean, that's all I do is I work and focused around work. So I think that's, I guess passion would be the biggest thing.
So you're not the guy I want to go have a drink with.
No.
What is it about your personality that hinders your business?
That I'm not very outgoing and I'm not very personable, I think, because all I want to do is work and I don't do well with small talk and that kind of stuff. So it's very limiting that I'm not a social butterfly.
Well, with that being said, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
Who would you travel cross country with on a motorcycle?
Would I drive across country on a motorcycle?
Who would you travel with?
Probably my friend Brandon, because he does that stuff all the time. I don't think I'd take my wife because she'd be miserable in the sun and in the rain.
Like, when are we going home and are we there yet?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your favorite concert?
I went to a really cool Dream Theater concert in New York a couple years ago, and the venue was really cool. It was a 150-year-old theater. It was pretty neat.
Okay, cool. Do you have any childhood nicknames?
No, everybody from when I was a kid calls me Mikey instead of Mike, which I don't really like that much. I think that's how most people are with childhood nicknames.
You don't want to be called them as an adult.
Exactly.
When was the last time you cried?
I don't know. It's been a little while. I'd have to really sit down and think about it.
All right. So you're not the crying type?
Usually no.
What impact do you want to leave on the industry?
On the industry?
On your industry, yes.
I just want to kind of be known as the guy that really pushed quality, and, real high-end, detail-oriented stuff. Like, me as a person, if I'm not remembered or known, I don't care. But I want to be one of those, one of the small group that really strive for high quality and detailed work.
When was the most difficult time for your business and how did you overcome it?
I'd say the first 2 years of business, just because I started when I was 20 years old and I didn't have any experience. I didn't have any tools. I didn't have any money. And
I just started a business with no tools, no experience, no money.
I don't know, it just happened. I knew what I wanted to do, and we did whatever it took. So I remember me and my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, we would walk the ditches, picking up pop cans, make rent, that kind of stuff. And, working, 100 hours a week just to break even at that point.
Now, what were you, we'll get to that, but we're here. What were you doing at that time?
What was I doing at that time?
Yeah. As a job?
Oh, I jumped right in. So I went out of high school and I worked for a welding subcontract company for the government, and I quit that and just opened up a business full time.
You're ballsy.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I'm not married. I live at home with my parents. It's one of those things that if I want to do it, now's the time to just jump in and do it.
I'm with that. Do you have any black friends?
Yeah. Yep, I had a guy, he's actually one of my really good friends. He worked for me for about 4 years, and we still stay in really good contact.
All right. Do you often see people of color in your industry?
In certain fields of my industry. So there's not a whole lot of, people of color that are actual metal shapers, But I mean, in the car community, you know, it's very diverse. You know, it's people of, you know, every nationality that gets involved. That's the really cool thing about the automotive industry is it's not, you know, I don't really know how to word it. You know, it's not one group of persons for anything. You know, there's all types of different eras, styles, and brandings, and you know, it's open to everybody.
Who would you most like to have a conversation with?
I don't know. Man, you're asking deep questions that I don't really think about very often.
Well, that's kind of the point. That's how we get to know you.
Yeah, I mean, if it was, I mean, it'd be somebody from a long, long time ago, like, you know, Plato or, you know, Aristotle, somebody that there'd be a total disconnect because they don't know anything about modern technology. So, you know, it'd be neat to see somebody from, you know, hundreds to thousands of years ago that know nothing about what we know about and see how they lived and functioned.
Right. And wonder what the heck are we doing?
Exactly.
All right, so we're done with the questions. So now we get into your process, how you got started in this, what led you to do what you do, and the things that guided you to where you are now.
Okay. So you just want me to kind of ramble on about it?
Yeah, I'll help you. I'm going to be in and out.
Okay. So yeah, I started when I was 20 years old, and I knew I wanted to be involved with cars.
Okay, 1 second. What did you do in high school?
In high school, I barely graduated. I went to a vocational school my junior and senior year in high school, and that's kind of what took me on the path of where I am now.
Okay, now what do you mean you barely graduated?
So my freshman and sophomore year, I slept in class more than I was awake. We'll start before that. So 8th grade, I had to repeat twice and almost 3 times if I didn't go to summer school.
Okay, but why though?
I had no interest. Yeah, I just had no interest. And
so you didn't have any learning disabilities? You just wasn't interested?
No. I had like all my like proficiency testing scores were really high, and I just had no interest in sitting at a desk. You know, I had bigger things that I wanted to mess around with, and school held no interest. But when I went to vocational school in high school, that's kind of when everything changed. You know, I got into trades, and that kind of narrowed my focus in on, you know, working with my hands and that kind of stuff.
Okay. So were you in high school, were you making anything or just fooling around?
No, I mean, I would make stuff like a lot of times I'd goof around on friends' cars. I'd build my own cars. I did a lot of like medieval weaponry type stuff. So like I built an 8-foot ballista in metal shop in high school. You know, I mean, I was always getting into some kind of trouble.
Okay, and once you graduate high school, then what?
So in high school, I apprenticed through the Cincinnati Youth Apprenticeship Program, and I did like some welding and machining jobs. And then I worked for 6 months in a body shop, and that wasn't my cup of tea. And then I got the job at the company being a welder for a subcontract military company. And I did that for almost a year before I quit and opened up the business full time.
Okay, now, when you were welding, were you a proficient welder? Were you MIG, TIG, stick?
I would do all 3, but by the time I left that job, I was one of the 4 TIG welders, so I would just sit in the TIG booth and weld aluminum parts and fixtures all day.
So this stuff kind of came naturally to you?
Yes.
Like a lot of people have to learn. It seems like school wasn't your thing, but you get in the metal shop and you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, I don't learn well with like books and reading comprehension and that kind of stuff. It just doesn't click. Like a couple years ago, I tried to read Dante's Inferno, and I would read the first page, and before I got to the second page, I'd forget what the first page said, so I'd have to reread page 1, and it just took forever. But if somebody told me about Dante's Inferno, I'd remember it forever. So it's the same kind of thing. If somebody shows me something once, I'll know it forever. But if I have to read about it, it just doesn't stick the same.
Okay. So you're 20, you decide you're going to go open a business.
Yep.
As a metal fabricator.
Yep.
Okay, where was the business? Did you rent a shop or you just did it out of a garage?
No, I rented a facility. I mean, it was a real dump. When it would rain, it would be wetter inside the shop than outside the shop. I think it was like $300 a month. I mean, it was a real dump, but it got the job done.
How long were you there?
About 8 months.
Okay. And when you first started, what was your first job?
I think my friend brought me a 94 F-150 that he wanted, like, the door handle shaved, the tailgate shaved, and the whole thing repainted.
You painted it as well?
Yep.
All right. So 8 months, why did you move?
I found a nicer facility that was right up the street, and we were, that's kind of when I started focusing on the image of the company and the brand. If we had a customer come in and it was a real dump, they wouldn't have me work on their car. So I moved up to a nicer facility that cost a little bit more money, but I had more work lined up as well.
And it didn't rain inside?
Didn't rain inside.
And at this time, what were you doing to cars?
Pretty much anything. Like, I would do oil changes, I would fix rust, suspension upgrades, pretty much anything I could to make money. I didn't really say no to much.
And did you have any experience with cars at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up working on cars, but it was like mainly like my dad was real into 60s Mustangs. So I knew a lot about that and a very little about everything else. So it was one of those things that it was, hey, can you do this? I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And then that's exactly what I did.
So how long were you in that shop?
I was in that shop for about 6 to 8 months for that one.
Okay, and then what happened?
Then I moved to another shop that was bigger and nicer, and it was more centrally located.
Right.
So it was about every 6 months to a year, I would upgrade to a new facility and get closer, to civilization to help, customers find me and that kind of stuff.
So how long did it take for you to get to a shop where you were comfortable?
Define the term comfortable.
So what you're saying is you're not comfortable now.
I would say I'm the most comfortable I have been, but there's always that uncertainty. What if the work dries up tomorrow? What if, like since I'm self-employed, and what happens if I break my arm? Or I have to have surgery and I'm down for, 6 weeks. So there's always that little bit of, unsettling in the background. But I mean, I would say it probably took 8 years to get where I wasn't nervous every day, and I started reinvesting heavily into the company.
Okay. And while you're reinvesting heavily in the company, you're buying big machinery.
Yep.
You still got to move because you didn't know you were going to need all of this gigantic stuff, and you probably wasn't in a big enough space to do that. Yeah.
So 4 years ago, I bought the building I'm currently in, the commercial space. So before then, I would invest in machinery, but it would be very limited on size because the building I was in was, kind of limited overall how big it was, and my budget at that point. And I was focused on buying a building. So, I had a bunch of smaller machinery and stuff that could be easily moved. And then when I bought my facility, that's when things really exploded, and I started buying, machines that are 8 to 15,000 pounds, and I'll never have to move again, I hope.
Right. A rigger comes and sit it down and it stays there.
Yeah, exactly.
So how big is your current building?
My current facility is 7,500 square feet.
Do you have any outside space?
Yep, I'm on a full acre, and I've got enough room I can add another 10,000 square feet on if I need it. You say that like you've thought about that, and that's the plan at some point. Possibly. It's one of those things that, like, so the building I'm in, I used to drive by this place all the time when I was a kid, and I'm like, if that building ever comes up for sale, I'm going to buy it. And then one day I drove by and there was a for sale sign, and that's exactly what happened. Like, we were under contract within a week. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah, just one of those things, manifesting my destiny, as a child. And
yeah, to dream about that and then actually have it.
Exactly.
What would you say is the most challenging thing about what you do?
Dealing with the people. I mean, that's a reoccurring thing. Like, the work is a challenge, but I like that, that kind of challenge, where it's mentally taxing but rewarding. And a lot of times the customers, they're mentally tasking and not always rewarding. So it's, I'm all about a challenge.
Be careful.
And I just don't deal well with people. So I'd rather deal with machinery and metal and that kind of stuff because it doesn't talk back as much.
Do you have someone to do that, or do you do that?
I do the majority of it. My wife helps me out. Like, she comes in on Saturdays and does the books and all the invoicing and billing. And but I'm still the face, and I have to deal with customers when they come in and walk them through their project and go through all that stuff.
Who's your client base?
It changes. Everything in my shop comes through in cycles. So like right now it's full of race cars. So, in 6 months it'll mainly be collectors and museums. So it's everything from, the guy down the street that likes hot rods up to, collectors in other states and museums. And I've worked with a lot of high-end clients all across the country. So it varies, but it's a big scale. It's not just one group of people.
What would you say, what's the oldest car you've worked on?
I think the oldest car I've worked on is a 1909 Oldsmobile.
Wow. And what did you do to that?
I had to hand make all new fenders and a hood for it. It was like a $750,000 restoration, like a concourse car for Pebble Beach. And you can't find fenders for it, so we ended up hand making all the fenders and the hood for it.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, since you mentioned it, what's the most expensive car you've worked on?
A lot of times I don't know the total number. There's probably been 3 or 4 that have been over $1 million. I just did a repair on a car that went up for auction, and it did not meet reserve at $4 million. And there's another car I've done a bunch of metal work on that I would $3.5. So, well into the million.
So, when you're working on a car like that, how do you feel?
Normal. I mean, it doesn't really faze me that much.
Just another car.
It's just another, yeah. I mean, it's only metal. I mean, if I screw it up, I can fix it.
It's a pretty good outlook.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go in your industry, your business that you haven't gone yet?
This sounds really bad, but I'm content where I'm at. Like, I don't want to grow much bigger. I don't want 15, 20 employees. I don't want a TV show. I don't want to be a millionaire. I'm happy where I am. I can pay all my bills. I can buy some tools when I need to. I've got some toys that I can play around with, and got a little bit of extra money in the bank, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Okay, so Art Turner has a question. What popular TV custom shop or person do you feel is the worst for your industry and art?
Is the worst for our industry? Oh, man. Do I have to answer that one?
Right. No, I don't know if it's fair to call anybody out like that.
Yeah, I just don't like to, potentially badmouth anybody in the industry. It's just not flattering, even if it's the truth.
And it's a small world.
Exactly.
You never know when you're going to need someone.
Yep.
So what do you want to do that you have not done?
I'd like to go to the moon. No, I don't really know. I mean, me and my wife talk about that all the time. You know, I'm 34 years old, and I've pretty much done everything on my bucket list to this point. You know, I never thought I would be where I am. So it's
I think your screen froze. Yeah, I'm here.
okay. I don't know what happened. I lost you there for a second.
You got me. So you're 34. You got your bucket list filled out. I'm gonna say I have two opinions about that. One, that is great. Two, that sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know what else I want to do in life. You know, it's real tough.
So
I don't know if my bucket list wasn't that great to begin with, or what.
or you're great. One or two. Maybe a
And
little bit of
one or
both.
the other.
It says, tell
Yeah.
us about your airplane parts.
So I do work on some aircraft stuff. The Warbird Museum here in Cincinnati, I make parts for, and then the Wright-Patterson Air Force Museum up in Dayton, I do a lot of work with them as well. There's some other stuff like prototype military aircraft pieces that I've made that I don't know anything about. They won't tell me anything, so I don't know. I know they're airplane parts, and that's about it. So it ranges. I've done a World War II German fighter plane I've done some pieces for, and like some B-17 bombers I've made some parts for.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, besides cars and planes, what else do you work on?
I've done some motorcycle stuff. Motorcycles really aren't my big cup of tea. That's pretty much it. I can't think of really anything else I really like to work on.
What's the smallest thing you've worked on?
I'm doing a chain guard it's a Simplex motorcycle, and it's like this big. It's real little. So the smaller pieces are harder than anything.
Yes. Primary American vehicles or any old Italian or British cars?
Pretty much anything that I find interesting. I've worked on a 64 Lamborghini 250 GT. That was one of the first 100 production Lamborghinis. I've done a lot of Jaguar stuff. A guy called me from out of state yesterday or the day before about doing a 61 Aston Martin DB. So, I mean, I like them all as long as they're interesting. I don't want Hugos or stuff like that in my shop, but you know, as long as it's fun, I'm into it. Yeah, I've got a 58 Alfa Romeo in the shop right now.
Very nice. Have you traveled anywhere to look at something and spec it out?
Yeah. I went to Texas to do some work. The guy with the Aston Martin wants me to come out and take a look at the car before he brings it to me. So, I mean, I travel all over to, you know, work in other people's shops, look at projects, meet with customers. So I travel all over the country with that.
Wow. So people be like, hey, I'm going to send you a ticket. I need you to come and check my car out.
Yep.
Wow. Huh. And you just go out for a day or?
It depends. So like the Aston Martin, it'd probably be a day trip, maybe an overnight trip if I can't find a plane ticket. When I went to Texas, I was there a little over a week. I did some work in their shop, and then I had some friends that moved to Austin, so I hung out with them and, you know, checked out their place. So depending on the application and, you know, where I'm going, I try to do, you know, make a little bit of a trip out of it if I can.
Yeah, a little business with pleasure. Well, a little pleasure with business.
Exactly.
Where do you see yourself in a year?
In a year, I mean, I'll probably be doing the exact same thing. Like I said, I'm not pushing for a lot of growth. So if I get maybe focus more on quality over quantity, you know, I'm kind of restructuring the business and cutting back on what I bring in just so I can be more choosy on stuff. So I don't think a lot will really change other than the amount of projects I have in the shop.
Okay. Now, are you into old cars?
Yeah. Yep.
What do you got?
I've got a 1961 Ford Country Squire sedan. I've got a 65 Shelby Daytona Coupe, and then 63 A.J. Watson Indy car that we built to be a street car. And I don't know if you want to count this as a car. It's a part of a 59 Anglia. So I've got a lot of projects as well as normal cars.
What projects do you have? Those are your projects? Were those
those are my yeah, those are my personal projects.
Okay. Now, I noticed being a Southern boy. I'm Chevy. You sound like Ford.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
it's
does
just
that
what I
matter
grew
to
up
you?
on. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I mean, there's Chevrolets that I like, but I just don't own any.
Okay. Because I grew up on Chevy, and I've never owned a Ford.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I've
and
owned
where
some Chevys.
I'm sorry?
I've owned a couple Chevys. Like when me and my wife got married, I bought a 51 Chevy Business Coupe that was our drive away from the wedding car. And I've had some Chevy pickup trucks, so it's just whatever, tickles my fancy at that point in life.
Okay. Can we get a shop tour?
Sure. It might not be super exciting, but let's see. Do you want me in the shot, or do you want me to turn the camera around?
If you could turn the camera around.
Okay, let's see if I can figure this out.
Done.
Yep, so here is our metal shaping department. Let's see if I can pan back. So we've got all our large shaping equipment.
Now, how many people are in your shop?
Just me full time, and then I've got a friend that's helping me out part time in the evenings a few days a week.
Wow.
So I have lots of junk. So I got stuff hanging everywhere. So this is a 67 Chevy Nova that we put a cage in, all new disc brakes we're working on, suspension. 30 Model A. And then we built this car. We did all the metal work on it last year. We built pretty much 90% of the body from scratch. Let's see if I can get a better shot of it. Yeah, so it's a 33 Ford Coupe.
Nice.
We're finishing up clutch linkages on it for him. And then
do you do engine work as well?
No, I don't do any paint work, interior work, or engine work. All that stuff gets done either outsourced or like the engines come in a box and I put them in. It's just stuff that we used to do all that stuff, but I want to focus on, my craft and the metal aspect of it.
Yeah, perfecting what you do.
Yeah, so then we've got all our machine tools. And then another Model A.
Can we look at that Model A?
Yeah. Yep, so this one I'm setting the engine up, the chassis up, all the suspension, building new quarters, floors, doors, finishing the chop. So that's what the old sheet metal looked like, and then we've built this new rear panel that we've got clipped on. And I've got part of the doors made, but we make all the suspension brackets and links and stuff like that.
So, and you were never formally trained?
No, the only training I have is the vocational school for welding and machining.
And how long were you in that school?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so Model A, and then there is the 58 Alpha. It's an
Nice.
SVRA road race car, and we're putting a new updated cage in it for him. And then that's a 68 Mustang convertible, Boss 429.
Oh yeah, let's get a close up of that.
Yeah, so I'm redoing a bunch of metal work on it, cleaning everything up, and I can show you the engine. It's in the back, but stripping all the E-coat off and investigating where we are. Trying not to trip with anything behind me.
Beautiful.
And then on the wall, that's the Land Speed Bonneville car I'm building for myself, and that's what it'll look like. And then that is where we are with it.
Wow.
So that's all scratch built and designed in house. And
Okay, wait a minute.
yep.
I like machines. Can we get a closer look at that? I'm all over the place, man.
Okay, yeah. Let me turn this fan off so I can hear you better. All right. So which machine? That one?
Yeah, that's a nice grinder.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my $100 internet find.
Wow. Was it local or did you have to go get it?
I had it shipped in from Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's 1,000 pounds. So it's, yeah, let's see if we can get my hand in there for reference. I mean, it's a big grinder.
So you paid $100 for it. How much did it cost to ship?
I think it was $150 to ship.
Oh, that's not bad.
No. Yeah, and then I've got grinders, sanders, buffers. Yeah, and I've got, yeah, I mean, if you're into old machinery, I've got a lot of really neat stuff. So this is a racine powered hacksaw.
Okay, I got a Marvel.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one of these work before?
Fired up.
All right. Yeah, I love vintage machinery, obviously. So it's just like a normal hacksaw, except it's all powered. And you grab the handle.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, lots of moving parts, and it's super cool.
Yeah, I have a Marvel hacksaw.
Yeah.
Very nice. So is that your only cutoff saw?
Yep, that's my normal cutoff saw.
And why is that? Because of the nice clean cuts, or you okay with using that?
I'm okay with using it. I like vintage machinery if I can get it. So I had a horizontal bandsaw, and I got rid of it to use this one. The cool thing is this one you can get like hardened blades for, and you can cut tool steel, and you can cut pretty much everything with it.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
like even my bandsaw, this is pre-World War II, and it still works. We use it every day. And one of my power hammers was from 1909.
Where's that?
That's back up here. So it's a Pettingill #1, and it's from 1909 to 1913, and we run it all the time. So that's that one.
Very nice.
Yeah. And it's on a 150-year-old Amish barn wood. Yeah, I use it all the time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I can show you the office and the showroom too.
Yeah.
That's what everybody likes because it's where all the clean and shiny stuff is. So that's the Daytona, and we've driven it across country.
Wow.
And then there's the 2-seater Indy car that I designed and built. And we just had it at a race last weekend, and we've got dragsters hanging from the ceiling, dragsters standing up on end.
So those helmets to the left, is that like a collection?
Yeah, so they're just vintage racing. I call them glitter helmets, but they're metal flake helmets, and they're all old. And me and some friends started collecting them to see who could get the most, and then it just kind of evolved from there.
So who has the most?
And I'm a hoarder. It's either me or my friend John. We stopped counting a few years ago.
Okay. Is John a car guy?
Yep, yeah, John's a car guy. Yeah, and this is a pretty cool piece. It's an old safe that was made here in Cincinnati, and it weighs 6,000 pounds. And I don't have anything super important to keep in it, so I keep all my books.
Keep them safe.
That's right. Yeah, creepy mannequins and. Yeah, so that's the first thing everybody sees when they walk in.
Very nice. Now, what are the pictures on the wall?
It depends. So, like the Cincinnati Survivors Alley, a friend of mine puts that on, and we go to it every year. just stuff people have given me. These are flags of my grandfather on the left, my wife's grandfather on the right. The
Very
local
nice.
town, we live close, they have these flags hanging up. And then these are original newspapers that I've come across from World War II, JFK assassination, moon landing. I mean, just neat old history stuff. Magazines I've been in. And this one's really cool. So we went to a restaurant in Indianapolis called the Steer Inn, and they had a world map, and people pinned where they came from. And the map was full, and they had it pinned all over the wall with napkins with locations. So I started this when I bought this building, and every time somebody new comes to the shop, I make them pin where they're from. And when I'm old, I can remember that some people actually liked me somewhere.
So how far out are the pins?
So we have Melbourne, Australia, New Zealand,
Wow.
Alaska. We've got the Virgin Islands and Aruba. I would say those are the farthest. And I mean, obviously, lots around Cincinnati, Indianapolis. I mean, we get New York, New Jersey, Wisconsin. So we're slowly growing.
Okay.
And then a caricature a friend of mine drew.
Very cool.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Do you have any favorite race car drivers? Are you into that?
No, not really. Like I like the car. Like again, I like the cars more than I like the people. So, I mean, I've got lots of junk. And then
Okay,
I can go ahead.
Someone said, tell us about the hill climb.
The hill climb was, I don't know a lot of the history of it. It was ran, I think they said it started in like 58 or 59, and then they stopped in 72. And pretty much it's 0.6 of a mile up a really steep hill with a really steep turn, and you just see who can go the fastest.
Okay, hold 1 second. I want to see your car again.
Which car?
The one you built, right back to the left.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
How big is it? How long will it be?
I think total length when the body's on it, about 14 feet.
Wow. And how much will it weigh?
About 6,000 pounds.
Jeez.
Yeah. So on Bonneville, the weight is your friend.
Yes.
So yeah, weight's going to be your friend.
And how fast is this going to go?
The record I'm chasing is 176.9. So I'm hoping to go 200 in it.
Wow. And you're going to drive it?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you want to get to the moon, it's a start, right?
Exactly. So it sounds really cheesy, and I didn't plan this. Have you seen the movie The World's Fastest Indian?
No.
Well, there's a part where he's got a motorcycle streamliner, and he's in America. He's from New Zealand, and he's at a gas station, and a little kid comes up, and he says, "Excuse me, sir, is that a rocket ship?" And he looks at him, and he says, "I sure hope so." So that's like one of my goals. Like, I just think that was the neatest thing. So I had it at Bonneville this year to get pre-inspected, and a lady walked by and said, "Hey, can I take pictures of your rocket ship?" So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. Just a warning, I have 20% battery left.
Okay, we got 15 minutes, so you should be good.
Okay. Just want to let you know that if it dies, that's where I went. So then
Thank you.
in the back it's dirty, but it's our catch-all. So we've got our hardware department, and then there's the Boss 429 that goes in the Mustang. So we pulled it out the other day to flip it around on the rotisserie.
Very nice.
Yeah, and we've got a 50 Ford, 46 Chevrolet, an old Ranger pickup truck, 32 sedan. That's the buck for a 1932 Miller Burden. And there's the 60 Ford station wagon.
Now, what are you doing with that station wagon?
Stuff. It's just my driver. I'm going to put a new transmission in it this year so my wife can drive it. She can't drive stick, so I'm going to put an automatic in it for her.
Was it really an ambulance?
Yeah, so the cool thing is this, in 1960, it was purchased by the Civil Defense of the United States Air Force, and it was an on-base military car in Montana, and they had it from 1960 to 1962, and in 1963 they donated it to the town of Drummond, and it became their volunteer ambulance. So the cool thing, when the government buys something, they tag it. That way it's theirs forever. And there is the data tag where the U.S. government
property.
owns it. Yep.
Very nice.
And there's a little spot you can still see where they had the Civil Defense logo on the side, and then the Drummond painted over it, but you can still see it. So the circle with the triangle in the middle was the U.S. Civil Defense Department. And it's just a beater, but it's
is your plan is your plan to keep the patina, or are you going to redo the whole thing?
Nope, I like them rough because, like, when we do cars like that 34, I mean, it's got like a $20,000 paint job on it. I'm too nervous to drive them. You know, like the station wagon I can take to the grocery store, and if some kid hits it with a shopping cart, I don't get upset. You know, when you've got something that you've got, you know, a couple $100,000 invested in, and you're scared to drive it, it's no fun anymore. So I'd rather them be a little rough around the edges. But, yeah, lots and lots and lots of stuff.
Are there any machines that you want to get that you don't own?
There's an Urco flanger that I want to get, and they're really hard to find, and when you can find them, they're really expensive. That's pretty much it. I'm sure there's other stuff that'll come across that I have to have, but I'm pretty much well equipped on everything I need to do what we need.
So this machine that you want, what does it do?
All it does is it puts flanges on things. But it's just the way it works. There's one shop in Utah that remanufactures it, and I mean, even the remanufactured one, I think they're like $14,000. I found one recently that was $25,000, and it would be something that I would use maybe once every 3 months for 20 minutes. So it's really hard to justify that.
Right.
Yeah, because everything else, you know, is pretty much bought and paid for. I try not to carry too much debt with machinery.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
What's that?
That is a pantograph machine. So before there were CNC engravers, you'd use a pantograph, and you take the platen on this side. Got my friend Bloomer's name on it. So then you would follow the letters this way, and it would translate through all of this into this little engraver head, and you could scale down or up the lettering.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we use it for, like, if we engrave a data tag or an ID tag. So it's really neat. It's a Gorton, but it's super neat how this stuff works. You know, it's got cylindrical drive shafts, and they come up, they run through all of that stuff over the engraving head. They just don't make stuff like this anymore.
Right. Do you use it often?
No, I mean, it might be once every few months, but it was a couple $100, and when I need it, it's super handy.
Now, what's in the two stores to the right?
This?
Yeah.
That's like blacksmith tongs and hammers.
Okay.
And I'd never seen a tong rack that had been cast. So
very nice.
I wanted the rack more than anything, and it came with all these tongs.
Oh, so you bought the rack and it was filled.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of blacksmith stuff. Me and my wife took some blacksmithing classes, and we've made hammers, but I don't get into it as much as I should.
So would you sell those tongs?
No.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't. I mean, I don't really sell much of anything. And it would depend, like, say if it was like you and you were having a hard time finding quality tongs and you wanted them to help you grow as a craftsman, I would be more likely to give them to you than sell them to you.
Right. Okay, stop. One more time. Take a right.
Yes.
So what we have here?
So this is an old machinist cabinet, and then all of these are air planishing dies. So they go in a small air hammer to finish out material, and then these are all power hammer dies, and then wheeling machine anvils and more power hammer dies, and then just miscellaneous wheeling machine stuff, bead rolling stuff, just components that all go to the sheet metal shaping side of things.
Now, how did you find those old ones in a box?
Which ones?
Right there. Did they come as a set, or you slowly collected them?
So like all of these are available new.
Okay.
And I've all of those, all of these are new. And then these I bought new. These are vintage anvils, but you can get them made new. Like this one came off of my Pettingill from 1909. So it's super crude, but that's what makes it cool. And then other stuff just like acquiring, like I'll go to an auction and I'll buy a lot of tools, and they'll just be random bits and pieces in a box, and I'll just save them because I never know when I'm going to need them.
You're one of those.
Oh, I'm definitely one of those.
I'm one of those too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a ton of machines.
Yeah, I'm real bad because like I bought this horizontal mill. I didn't need it, but I think it was $200 at an auction.
It's too cheap to leave.
Yeah. And
Can't afford to leave it.
Yeah, I've never used it, but it's here when I do need it.
And you will.
Yep, someday. But like all my machine tool stuff, I buy it, like I said, at auctions. So this is all just machine tool stuff. But, all kinds of fixtures. And, there's like all the little brass pieces for the pantograph. But same thing, I buy drill bits by the box at auctions. End mills by the box at auctions.
Yep.
I just can't stop buying stuff.
I'm in rehab.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
It'll come.
Yep. I just tell my wife, I'm like, make sure to sell all this stuff for a premium when I die so you can live good for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I like old signs and boats and race car stuff. And
now, is that your workbench?
yep, that's my main welding bench. So it's like a Blueco table, and it's got little fixtures that go in it, and you can clamp at all the surfaces. It's kind of a wreck right now because I didn't know we were going to be walking around, but it shows that I actually do something. Yeah.
All right, pretty cool. Is there anything that I forgot or glossed over or didn't cover?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'll turn this back around just in case. Yeah, I mean, if there's any questions you have or any of the people watching, I mean, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Is how close are you with your father?
It depends. So I'm a very hard person, I guess, to tolerate. I don't know if that's the right word or not. I hold everybody at a very high standard, and I have very high expectations for everybody. And I'm not very forgiving when it comes to that stuff. I
was about to say that you're not too forgiving.
No.
That's hard, man.
It is. And I mean, my therapist tells me that. She's like, you're a tough, I'm just tough. I'm not warm and fuzzy. I'm almost robotic and meticulous, and it drives people up the wall. But
yeah, I saw a therapist for a bit too.
Yeah.
You got to let some of that stuff go in love, man.
Exactly. Yeah, my therapist is interesting though, because she's not typical, where that's like, oh, just let it roll off your back. She's like, it's okay to hold a grudge every once in a while. She's pretty real with it.
I agree. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But you can't hold too many.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's times me and my dad are close, and then there's other times that we're just not. Like I can't be around people a lot anyway. Like even my wife, it's good that, I work as much as I do because I think we would kill each other. But it's just, everything has to be done a certain way on both of our parts.
We have a question. If you
Yep.
had to start over, would you do anything differently? I want to say no, he wouldn't, but go ahead.
Yeah, I would do something totally different. Like I said, I'd go work at Walmart. Or,
You wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
You wouldn't do that.
probably I would work for somebody else. I'd be willing to move. If I knew now if I knew then what I knew now, I would go work for a shop that had it more together. It would just be less struggle.
Okay, so let's talk about that, right? You've moved around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like dealing with people. So how can you work for somebody?
I don't know. Like pretty much I would want to be left alone. Put me in the shop, give me my tasks, and just leave me alone. So one thing, we didn't cover, technically I sold the company about 2 years ago to another local restoration shop, and it didn't work. So we destroyed the contract and I just opened back up because they weren't holding up their end of the bargain. And that's the biggest thing. Like, I didn't want to be dealing with the customers.
How can you forget that?
What was that?
So how can you forget that?
Yeah, that's because I it's in the past and it's over. But, it's just.
So you sold the company to someone.
Yep.
And what did you do for those 2 years while it didn't work out?
So what I was supposed to be doing was just coming in Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, working on customer cars. I wasn't supposed to be doing billing, invoicing, ordering parts, dealing with walk-ins. I was supposed to be a general laborer and focus on
like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right.
And what it ended up being is I had to do all the work of the laborer, and I had to do the management stuff, and I had to bring in work, and then they didn't want to pay me for non-billable hours. So I'm like, well, I had to do my job and somebody else's.
Right. You sold the company because you didn't want to do those things, and they hired you on to do those things.
Yeah, and then didn't want to pay me for those things.
And didn't want to pay for those things.
But the good thing is, it was worth it because, you never know unless you try, but I protected myself really well. So what I did is I own my building, I own all my tools. I leased all that stuff to them. I leased the name, the building, and the tools just in case there was a negative outcome. And it really protected me because then at the end, I'm just like, hey, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. After my 2 weeks, we separated and, I didn't owe them anything. They didn't owe me anything. And we just went on our way.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And did they leave or you just stopped working for them?
I just stopped working for them. So I still worked in my facility and they had their own facility across town. And just all their metal work for their restoration jobs would come here.
Okay. And do you still work with them?
No. I'm friends with some of the people I worked with, but the owner wasn't too fond of me leaving, so there's no real relationship there anymore.
Right. You were the bread and butter.
I wouldn't say that. It's just, again, I'm really hard to deal with, and he was very corporate minded, so lots of loopholes and dancing around with no real result. And that was I'm a no frills, no BS kind of guy, just do what you say what you do, make it happen. And
right. You keep saying you're hard to deal with.
I'm very hard to deal with.
And it seems like you're comfortable being hard to deal with.
Yep. Yeah. For the most part, it's like, I'm sure you talk to a lot of small business owners and it's very lonely. I've got maybe 4 friends.
We talked about that. We spoke about that same exact thing this morning. This is a lonely thing to do.
It is. And the bad thing is I have.
Okay, hold it 1 second. 1 second. We got 12 seconds. Do you want to get back on?
That's up to you.
Right.
I've got 10%. We could schedule another date if that'd be better.
Okay, we could do that.